My husband demanded I skip my daughter's emergency surgery to attend his work promotion party because his career comes first in our marriage, and when I refused, he told me I'll never be a good stepmother to his kids anyway. I'm 31F and I've been married to Marcus 36M for 18 months now. This is a second marriage for both of us. I have a 9-year-old daughter, Lily, from my previous relationship, and Marcus has 2 kids from his ex-wife, Connor, who's 12, and Emma, who's 10. We've been trying to blend our families, and honestly, it's been challenging, but I thought we were making progress. Marcus works in corporate finance and just got promoted to regional director last month. It's a huge deal for him, significant salary increase, corner office, the works. His company was throwing a mandatory celebration dinner this past Saturday evening for all the newly promoted executives and their spouses. Marcus has been talking about this dinner for weeks, saying how important it was for me to be there to show we're a united front and help him network with the other executives' wives. I work as a physical therapist at a pediatric clinic, and Marcus often makes comments about how my job is nice but his career is what really supports our family. He's always been a bit dismissive of my work, but lately it's gotten worse since his promotion. Saturday started off normal. Lily was at my place. We have split custody with her dad, and Marcus's kids were with us for the weekend. Around 2 p.m., we were all hanging out when Lily started complaining that her throat felt scratchy. I didn't think much of it at first. Kids get minor sore throats all the time. But within an hour, Lily's face started swelling up. Her lips got puffy, her eyes were getting smaller, and she was having trouble swallowing. I immediately recognized the signs of a severe allergic reaction. Lily has a mild nut allergy, but nothing like this had ever happened before. I grabbed her EpiPen and administered it right away, then called 911. The paramedics arrived within 10 minutes and said I'd done the right thing, but Lily needed to get to the hospital immediately for monitoring and possible additional treatment. Anaphylaxis can have secondary reactions hours later. I texted Marcus, who was at the gym, and told him what was happening. His response was, "Is she okay now? The dinner is at 7. I called him and explained that Lily was stable but needed to stay in the hospital for observation, possibly overnight. The doctors wanted to run allergy tests to figure out what caused such a severe reaction, and they needed to monitor her for any delayed responses. Marcus's immediate reaction was, "Can't her dad deal with this? This dinner is really important for my career." I was shocked. I told him that Lily's father was out of state on a work trip and wouldn't be back until Monday. More importantly, I wasn't leaving my daughter alone in the hospital when she'd just had a life-threatening allergic reaction. "Look, Sarah," Marcus said, "I get that you're worried, but she's fine now, right? The nurses can watch her. This dinner could determine my entire future at the company. My boss specifically asked about you coming." I told him that there was absolutely no way I was leaving Lily, and that surely his boss would understand if I had to miss due to a family emergency. That's when Marcus said something that completely floored me. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Your daughter always comes before our marriage, before our family. You'll never be a good stepmother to Connor and Emma if you keep putting Lily first all the time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him that of course my daughter comes first when she's having a medical emergency, and that any decent step-parent would understand that. Marcus got really agitated and said, "This is how it's going to be for our entire marriage, isn't it? Every time my career needs support, you'll find some excuse with Lily. My ex-wife never pulled this kind of nonsense." I hung up on him. I stayed at the hospital with Lily, who thankfully was stable but needed to remain for observation. Around 8 p.m., I got a text from Marcus saying he'd gone to the dinner alone and was embarrassed to explain where my wife was. Lily was released Sunday morning after the doctors confirmed she was clear of any delayed reactions. They also discovered she developed a severe shellfish allergy that we didn't know about. Apparently she'd eaten some cross-contaminated food at lunch. When I got home with Lily, Marcus was cold and distant. He barely acknowledged Lily and made pointed comments about how I'd embarrassed him in front of his colleagues and made him look like he had no control over his family's situation. The final straw came when Connor asked why I hadn't been at the dinner, and Marcus said loudly, "Because Sarah's daughter is more important than our family's future." I packed bags for Lily and myself and went to stay at my sister's house. Marcus has been blowing up my phone saying I'm overreacting and that I need to understand how important his career is to our future together. I love Marcus, but I will never apologize for prioritizing my daughter's health and safety. The fact that he can't understand that makes me question everything about our marriage. Update 1. Thank you so much for all the responses. I've been reading every comment and the overwhelming support has really helped me process what happened. A lot of you pointed out some red flags that I honestly hadn't fully recognized, and you're right, this isn't just about one incident. I decided I needed to have a serious conversation with Marcus, so I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop yesterday evening. Lily was staying with my sister for the night so we could talk without interruption. Marcus started off by apologizing, saying he'd been under a lot of stress with a new promotion and that he'd handled the situation poorly. For a moment, I thought maybe we could work through this. But then he said, I need you to understand that my career has to come first sometimes. That's how we're going to build a life together. Lily already has a father, she doesn't need you to be with her for every little thing. I told him that a severe allergic reaction wasn't a little thing and that I would always prioritize my daughter's safety. That's when he dropped another bombshell. This is why my brother said second marriages with kids never work, Marcus said. You're never going to fully commit to our family because you're still hung up on your old life. I asked him what he meant about his brother, and Marcus explained that his brother David went through a similar situation with his ex-wife and her kids from a previous marriage. David has been coaching Marcus on how to handle blended family dynamics. Here's where it gets really concerning. Marcus told me that David advised him that I needed to establish boundaries with Lily and that I was letting her manipulate family situations. According to David, successful second marriages require the new spouse to step back from their previous family obligations. I was horrified. I told Marcus that his brother's advice was completely inappropriate and that Lily isn't manipulating anything, she's a 9-year-old child who had a medical emergency. Marcus got defensive and said that David knows what he's talking about because he won his custody battle and now has full custody of his kids while his ex-wife only gets supervised visits. This sent up huge red flags for me. I asked more questions about David's situation, and Marcus revealed that David's ex-wife couldn't handle the pressure of their blended family and that she lost custody because she couldn't prioritize the marriage. I left that conversation feeling sick to my stomach. When I got home, I called my sister and told her everything. She pointed out something I hadn't considered. Marcus and I never actually established any legal protections for our blended family situation. I own my house outright, I bought it with the settlement money from my car accident 3 years ago. Marcus moved in when we got married, but he's not on the deed or mortgage. His name isn't on any of the utilities either, since I owned everything before we married. More concerning, Marcus has been making comments lately about how we should restructure Lily's custody arrangement with her father. He suggested that having her every other weekend instead of the current 50-50 split would be better for family stability. I've started documenting these conversations, and I'm planning to consult with a family lawyer this week. Several commenters suggested this, and I think you're right that I need to understand my legal position here. Marcus has been texting me nonstop, alternating between apologies and complaints about how I'm abandoning our marriage over one disagreement. He keeps saying that his brother is just trying to help and that I'm being unfair by not trusting his judgment. I'm staying at my sister's house for now. Lily is doing great, no more allergic reactions, and she's actually enjoying the sleepover atmosphere. She hasn't asked many questions about why we're staying here, but I can tell she's picked up on the tension. Update 2. I promised I'd update after meeting with a lawyer, and wow, I'm so glad I listened to your advice about getting legal counsel. This situation is way more complicated than I realized. I met with a family attorney yesterday, and she immediately flagged several concerning issues. First, she asked detailed questions about Marcus's behavior and his brother's advice. When I described David's custody situation, she got very serious. Apparently, cases where one parent suddenly loses custody due to inability to prioritize the marriage are huge red flags in family law. She asked me to find out more details about David's ex-wife's situation. I did some digging online and found David's ex-wife on social media. I sent her a private message explaining who I was and asked if she'd be willing to talk. She called me within an hour, and what she told me was terrifying. David systematically isolated her from her children during their marriage. He convinced her that her maternal anxiety was harmful to the kids and that she needed to step back to let him provide stability. He documented every instance where she put her children's needs before his wants, then used that evidence in court to argue she was unable to prioritize the family unit. The supervised visits aren't because she's unfit, they're because David hired an expensive lawyer and she couldn't afford to fight back effectively. She's been working multiple jobs trying to save money for an appeal. She warned me that David has been bragging to their mutual friends about training Marcus to handle his stepkid situation the right way. She said David told people that Marcus was too soft and needed to establish dominance early. When I asked what she meant by stepkid situation, she said David had been telling people that Lily was interfering with Marcus's ability to bond with his new family and that I needed to choose between my old family and my new one. I was horrified. This isn't just about one disagreement over a dinner. Marcus has been getting coached on how to isolate me from my daughter. The lawyer advised me to document everything and start separation proceedings immediately. She said that based on the patterns David used, Marcus would likely escalate his demands and try to manipulate custody arrangements. I went home yesterday to get more clothes for Lily and me, and found Marcus going through my filing cabinet. He claimed he was looking for insurance papers, but I caught him photographing documents related to Lily's custody arrangement and my financial information. When I confronted him, he initially denied it, then said he was just trying to understand our family's legal situation better. He said David had advised him to know where things stand in case we needed to make adjustments. I told Marcus to get out of my house immediately. He refused, saying he lived there too and had rights as a husband. I reminded him that his name isn't on anything and that I could have him removed. That's when Marcus's mask completely slipped. He said, "You think you can just kick me out? I know exactly how custody works now." David's lawyer said that mothers who prioritize their biological kids over their stepfamilies can lose custody for parental alienation. I was stunned. Marcus had essentially admitted that he and his brother were planning to use our marriage problems to attack my custody arrangement with Lily. I called the police and had Marcus removed from my property. The officers confirmed that since he's not on the deed or lease, I had every right to exclude him. Marcus left, but not before shouting that I was making a huge mistake and that I'd regret not giving our marriage a real chance. I immediately called Lily's father and explained the situation. He's cutting his business trip short and coming back tomorrow. We're going to meet with my lawyer together to ensure Marcus can't interfere with our custody arrangement. I also called Marcus's ex-wife to warn her about David's influence. She was grateful for the heads up and said she'd been wondering why Marcus had become so hostile during their recent co-parenting discussions. Update 3. It's been 2 weeks since I had Marcus removed from my house, and the situation has gotten even more bizarre. I wasn't planning to update again, but Marcus's own family reached out to me, and what they told me changes everything. Last week, I got a call from Marcus's mother, Helen. She apologized for calling but said she needed to talk to me about what was happening with Marcus and his brother David. Helen asked if we could meet for coffee, and I agreed. When we met, she immediately apologized for her son's behavior and said she'd been trying to reach me for days. Here's what Helen told me. She and Marcus's father divorced when Marcus was 16, but they've maintained a civil relationship for the sake of their kids. Recently, Marcus's father called her expressing concern about both sons' behavior. David has been coaching Marcus for over 6 months, long before the promotion dinner incident. David convinced Marcus that I was too attached to Lily and that he needed to establish boundaries or risk losing his authority in his own home. But here's the really disturbing part: David's custody battle wasn't about his ex-wife being unfit. David systematically documented every instance where his ex-wife put their children's needs before his wants, then claimed in court that she was unable to maintain appropriate family hierarchies. David had been bragging to family members about helping Marcus handle his stepkid problem before it gets out of hand like mine did. Helen was horrified when she learned about this. She immediately called Marcus to confront him, and that's when Marcus admitted that David had been advising him on how to manage blended family dynamics. According to Helen, Marcus told her that David's lawyer had reviewed our custody arrangement and identified potential leverage points if Marcus needed to protect his family's interests. Helen demanded to know what that meant, and Marcus said that David's lawyer believed they could argue that my inability to prioritize our marriage constituted a form of parental alienation that could affect my custody. Helen was so appalled that she immediately called Marcus's ex-wife to warn her. Marcus's ex-wife confirmed that Marcus had been asking strange questions about their custody arrangement and had even suggested modifications that would give him more control. The most shocking revelation: Helen found out that David has been telling people I was mentally unstable and that Marcus was protecting his kids from my influence. David had been laying groundwork to support a narrative that I was an unfit influence on all the children. Helen apologized profusely and said that neither she nor Marcus's father had any idea this was happening. She said that David has always been manipulative but that this level of planning was scary. Helen also revealed that Marcus's company promotion came with a mandatory psychological evaluation and team-building assessment. Marcus barely passed the psychological portion, and his supervisors noted concerning attitudes about authority and family dynamics. Apparently, Marcus made several inappropriate comments during the assessment about how modern women don't understand family priorities and how successful men need wives who support their careers unconditionally. His boss was so concerned about these comments that he assigned Marcus to work with a corporate coach and required him to attend sensitivity training before taking on his new role. Helen said that Marcus has been telling David that the coaching is feminazi propaganda and that the company is trying to emasculate him. David has been encouraging Marcus to stand firm and not let them change who he is. The final straw for Helen came when she found out that David had been researching my background and Lily's father's background, looking for ammunition in case they needed to protect Marcus's interests in a divorce. Helen handed me a folder containing screenshots of David's social media posts where he bragged about teaching his brother how to handle difficult women and protecting family assets from greedy stepkids. She also gave me Marcus's father's contact information and encouraged me to speak with him. She said that Marcus's father is disgusted by both sons' behavior and wants to help make sure this doesn't escalate further. I met with Marcus's father yesterday, and he confirmed everything Helen had told me. He also revealed that David has been in therapy for control issues since his divorce but has been lying to his therapist about his behavior. Marcus's father said that he's considering cutting contact with David entirely and that he's ashamed of how his sons have turned out. He offered to testify on my behalf if Marcus or David try to interfere with my custody or create legal problems. Update 4. I really hoped my last update would be the end of this story, but Marcus and David have escalated things beyond what I ever imagined possible. I'm only posting this because people have been asking for updates, and I think others need to know how dangerous this situation became. 2 weeks ago, I noticed someone had been in my house while I was at work. Nothing was stolen, but things were slightly moved, papers on my desk were in a different order, my computer had been turned on when I'd left it off, and my filing cabinet lock was scratched. I immediately called the police and had them check the house. They found evidence that someone had picked the back door lock. I changed all my locks and installed security cameras the next day. 3 days later, I got a call from Lily's school saying that Marcus had tried to pick her up, claiming there was a family emergency. The school followed protocol and called me first. I told them under no circumstances was Marcus authorized to take Lily anywhere. When I arrived at the school, Marcus was arguing with the principal, insisting that as my husband he had parental authority in emergencies. I had to show them our custody documents proving that only Lily's father and I have legal authority over her. Marcus was furious and accused me of turning everyone against him. He left, but not before telling the principal that I was mentally unstable and that he was concerned for Lily's safety in my care. I immediately filed for a restraining order and got an emergency hearing for the next day. At the hearing, Marcus claimed he was just trying to help and that I was overreacting due to post-divorce trauma. But the judge had reviewed all my documentation, the break-in, the attempted school pickup, the photographs of my financial documents, and the statements from Marcus's own family about David's coaching. The restraining order was granted immediately. Marcus is not allowed within 500 feet of me, Lily, my house, Lily's school, or my workplace. The next day, I got a call from Marcus's boss. Apparently, Marcus had called in sick but was seen at my workplace trying to speak with my supervisors about concerns regarding my mental health. Marcus's boss was calling to apologize and to let me know that Marcus was being placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Apparently, using sick leave to harass a spouse's employer violates multiple company policies. The investigation revealed that Marcus had been using company resources to research legal strategies for custody disputes and had been discussing family legal matters during work hours with David. Even worse, they discovered that Marcus had used his corporate email to contact a private investigator about gathering evidence on my fitness as a mother. Marcus was fired immediately. The company's legal department also sent him a cease and desist letter warning that any further misuse of company resources or reputation would result in legal action. But the story gets even crazier. Last week, I got a call from David's ex-wife. She said that David had been bragging to mutual friends about helping Marcus gather evidence and that David's lawyer had advised them they had a strong case for proving parental alienation. David's ex-wife had secretly recorded one of these conversations where David explicitly laid out their plan. They were going to argue that my refusal to prioritize the marriage during Lily's medical emergency proved I was incapable of healthy family integration. They planned to use this as evidence that I was alienating Lily from her stepfamily and that Marcus needed protection from financial manipulation since I owned the house. The recording was incredibly damning. David's lawyer even discussed how they could leverage the company's psychological evaluation to support claims about my influence on Marcus's mental health. David's ex-wife took this recording to her own lawyer, who immediately contacted the State Bar Association. David's lawyer is now under investigation for ethics violations related to conspiracy to file frivolous custody claims. The Bar Association also forwarded the information to law enforcement. Both Marcus and David are now under investigation for conspiracy to commit harassment and potential fraud related to the attempted custody manipulation. Last Friday, both Marcus and David were arrested. The charges include harassment, attempted fraud, conspiracy, and violation of restraining orders. Marcus had apparently been following me despite the court order. David's ex-wife called me yesterday to let me know that her appeal hearing has been moved up, and with this new evidence, her lawyer is confident she'll regain proper custody of her children. Marcus's ex-wife also reached out to thank me. She said that the investigation revealed Marcus had been planning to modify their custody arrangement too, using the same tactics David had coached him on. Final update: it's been 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to close out this story since so many people have been asking what happened. Marcus and David both pled guilty to reduced charges to avoid trial. Marcus got 18 months probation, mandatory anger management counseling, and a permanent restraining order. David got 2 years probation, lost his visitation rights with his own children, and his lawyer was disbarred. The most satisfying part: David's ex-wife won her appeal and now has full custody of her children. David only gets supervised visits twice a month, and he has to pay her legal fees from the original custody battle. Marcus lost his job permanently. His company made it clear that his behavior violated their code of conduct and that he would never be eligible for rehire. He's been working temporary jobs and living with his brother, not David. They have a third brother who wants nothing to do with this mess. Marcus's mother Helen has been amazing throughout this whole process. She testified on my behalf during the restraining order hearing and has completely cut David out of her life. She still sends Lily birthday and Christmas gifts, which I think is sweet. The best outcome: Lily's father and I have strengthened our co-parenting relationship through all this. He was so concerned about Marcus's behavior that we decided to stick with our current 50-50 custody arrangement instead of the modification Marcus had been pushing for. Lily is doing great. She doesn't really understand everything that happened, but she knows that Marcus won't be around anymore and that she's safe. She's also been working with an allergist and hasn't had any more severe reactions. As for me, I'm honestly relieved. I've been in therapy to process how I missed so many red flags, and my therapist has helped me understand that Marcus and David were very skilled manipulators. I'm not dating anyone right now and don't plan to for a while. I want to focus on Lily and rebuilding our peaceful life together. The scariest part of this whole experience was realizing how close they came to succeeding. If Marcus's own family hadn't intervened and if David's ex-wife hadn't been brave enough to share that recording, they might have actually succeeded in manipulating the custody system. To anyone reading this who recognizes similar patterns in their own relationship, trust your instincts. When someone tells you that your children aren't the priority, believe them. A loving partner will never ask you to choose between them and your child's safety. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this nightmare. Your comments and advice literally helped save my daughter and me from a very dangerous situation.